It should work now.
And other than that, we're ready to go, right, Chris?
Yes, you have the all
Okay.
clear.
Wonderful. Okay, so we'll get started now that everyone has screen sharing and recording abilities. So let's get started with opening statements.
The prosecution go first, Your Honor?
Yes, the
All right, thank you.
prosecution will get their opening statement first.
All right, I'll go ahead with that then. Your Honor, opposing counsel, members of the jury, may it please the court. Blake Hart didn't get what she paid for, so she took it. It's just before noon on March 14th, and Miss Kennedy Leone is standing by the bathrooms in LaRue Park. Just 30 minutes before, she'd received a text message from a person named Badger, who arranged to purchase an ounce of marijuana from her. That person named Badger was a person Miss Leone knew well, a person she knew she had dealt with before. Badger was the name given to Blake Hart. But Blake Hart wasn't just there to buy marijuana that night. Blake Hart had a plan. Not 2 weeks earlier, Blake Hart had yelled at Miss Leone, accusing her of not giving her the amount of marijuana she paid for. Blake Hart, irate, gave Miss Leone an ominous warning. Bad things happen to shady dealers. Blake Hart didn't get what she paid for, so she hatched the plan to take it herself. As the clock strikes 12 on March 14th, Blake Hart walks up to Miss Leone, but as Miss Leone moves out to take the marijuana, Blake Hart takes out a gun. Blake Hart points the gun at her head, demands the marijuana and the $500 in her pocket. Miss Leone stands shaking, terrified against the wall, and doesn't dare to move until the police arrive. Meanwhile, Blake Hart walks away with the marijuana she wanted and an extra $500 for her time. Members of the jury, Blake Hart didn't get what she paid for, so she took it. As the Commonwealth in today's trial, we hold the burden of proof in today's case. We will have the burden to prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Blake Hart is guilty of armed robbery. To do this, we have to prove two things to you. Number one, Blake Hart stole property from Miss Leone. And number two, that when Blake Hart stole this property, he threatened Miss Leone with a handgun. We are confident by the end of today's trial, we will meet that burden. And we will do so by calling 3 witnesses. First, we will call Miss Kennedy Leone herself, and she will tell you that just 2 weeks before the robbery, Blake Hart accused her of not giving her what she paid for and then threatened her. You will then learn that on March 14th, she received a text from a private number with the name Badger, the code name assigned to Blake Hart. Then she'll tell you that later that day, she saw Blake Hart approach her, point a gun at her, and take the marijuana and the $500 in her pocket. Then you'll hear from Miss Rory Butler, a park employee, who will back up Miss Leone's story. She also saw a hooded figure standing next to Miss Leone that night. And then she saw Miss Leone standing next to a wall after the marijuana was handed over. You'll also hear from Miss Butler that she said that the robber was wearing a hoodie with a distinctive hole in the abdomen area. Finally, we will call Officer Dakota Grant, the responding officer of the scene of the crime and the lead detective in today's case. You will learn that he searched Blake Hart's home for evidence. And members of the jury, he will tell you that he found everything that would indicate a robbery occurred. You will learn that just as Miss Leone had reported stolen from her, Blake Hart was in possession of exactly $500 and an ounce of marijuana. You will also hear that Blake Hart was also in possession of a hoodie with a distinctive hole in the abdomen area, just like Miss Butler will tell you she saw. You'll also learn that Blake Hart was in possession of a handgun. Members of the jury, the evidence will become clear. Blake Hart didn't get what she paid for, so she took it. That is why at the end of today's trial, my co-counsel, Katie Tolliver, will come before you and ask you to find Blake Hart guilty of robbery in the first degree. Thank you.
May the defense proceed.
Yes, proceed whenever you're ready.
If it may please the court, opposing counsel, and inform the jury. Blake Hart, the defendant, is a normal citizen in Scarborough that has robbed absolutely no one and deserves a second chance by the justice system for treating them so unfairly. Now, from the defense, we'll be hearing from Hayden Russell, who will tell you from the time that Blake Hart left for their walk and the time they got back was approximately an hour. Now, from the state, you'll be hearing from Officer Dakota Grant, who will tell you that the time from the area of the incident to Hart's apartment was 30 minutes. And they mentioned it was a very tight 30 minutes and it didn't allow much time for crosswalks or detours. Now, explain to me this. 30 minutes to get to the crime, performing the crime, and then 30 minutes back in just under an hour, it is impossible. And now from the state also, you'll be hearing from Kenny Lyon, who dealt with a private number named Badger, who about a deal for an ounce of marijuana. Now, Kenny Lyon will also tell you that this Badger is Blake Hart, which is incorrect, and it only half the story. And the original Badger was a person named Ronnie Jefferson, a long deceased friend of Blake Hart, who dealt with Lyon before, and now they had a falling out between Blake and Lyon. And Blake accused Lyon of selling them short marijuana, but Lyon accused Blake of sharing the Badger name when it's entirely possible that Ronnie Jefferson or others could have shared the Badger name before, and that is why it's completely speculative. And from the defense, you also hear from Hayden Russell, who will testify that about their gun that both Hart and Russell own in their kitchen drawer. Now, this kitchen drawer, confirmed by Officer Grant themselves, that it was a very squeaky drawer, and it would have been heard if it was taken out and used in the robbery. Also from the defense, we'll hear from Sora Scott, who was previously arrested in 2018 for DUI by Officer Grant. But apparently, it was a blatantly false arrest as Sora Scott was suffering from a hypoglycemic episode. And now Officer Grant also experienced in forensic testing, testing on the marijuana bag found at Hart and Russell's apartment. And this marijuana bag had one usable fingerprint that had 5 potential matches, including Russell's. Officer Grant also tested this, examined this fingerprint themselves, and concluded themselves that it was a match, even though it is best practice for someone else, that they would tell you that it's best practice for someone else to make that comparison. And now, with Sora Scott's case and Officer Grant's eagerness to cut corners, I hope you realize that it is wiser to not trust Officer Grant's better judgment. And now, overall, these holes and speculations have nothing to stand on. They are baseless. And Blake Hart should be given a second chance, as they've been poorly treated by the justice system. And they should be given a second chance to re-enter into society as a normal citizen of Scarborough. And now I hope you all find the defendant Blake Hart not guilty. Thank you.